right. So we'll start off today with our overview of controlled environment agriculture. I'm going to toss things over to Nick, and then I'll be back in a little bit.
Thank you, Katie. And yeah, thank you everyone for coming and joining and introducing yourselves. And hopefully, it's a nice day for everyone. As a Canadian, I try not to complain too much about the warm weather, although it is pretty stinking hot out there, at least in Ottawa. So I hope everyone's staying cool and well, taking advantage of again our warm summer before the winter comes again. But yeah, to start off, well, first off, my name's Nick. I work with Grocer. I've been here for almost 5 years, and I work with a lot of people, different types of people and businesses to help start projects. I'm managing business development. I work very closely with Katie in marketing. And ultimately, I think to sum it up, my role really is to help people get their projects started and figure out if it's right for them or not, and find a way to get it done. So I'm excited to be here today. You can go to the next slide, Katie. So controlled environment agriculture, or CEA as we'll refer to it today, or maybe you've heard it be referred to. It is, for those who might not be aware, it stands for, controlled environment agriculture, and it refers to the production of plants and crops within basically a controlled climate or a controlled environment. Think greenhouses, vertical farms, indoor farming systems, and modular farms or container farms like what Grocer does. Typically, they're not soil-based. They can be, greenhouses can be. A lot of them are hydroponics based, which is basically a soilless solution or water that is dosed automatically or manually with nutrients. Same with aeroponics, similar to hydroponics. It uses it's like a spray or a mist rather than actually having like the roots be in water. And then aquaponics also, that is using like the nutrients from fish typically. So think hydroponics, but instead of putting in nutrients yourself, you're using like fish excrement to do so. So all different forms of growing crops that are very, very popularly done within a controlled environment. Why CEA? I mean, Katie said it earlier. It is stinking hot out there, and in the winter, it's really, really cold. At least in Canada, a lot of the northeastern states, and quite frankly, in many places across the world, it's rare that you have a full, amazing 12-month growing season. So, controlled environment agriculture, or CEA, it gives you precise control over your environmental factors. So not just your temperature and your humidity, but also the nutrients, for example, that go into like a hydroponic solution, and also your light. Your artificial sun, you can be very granular and control the cycles that you let your crops be exposed to maximize their growth and their health. So all of that allows you to be able to produce year round. Again, I'll bring it back to the crazy climate that we have here in North America. It allows you to control or produce, year round, regardless of what's going on outside. It allows you, again, to be pretty precise with things. So it allows you to be efficient with your use of resources like water, like nutrients, and space when you're able to do things like, farm vertically, farm horizontally on a wall, or stack different growing shelves like we do personally here at Grocer at our farm. So be very efficient with space. And ultimately, when you're able to be or have that level of control, you're able to put it in places where you historically weren't really able to farm. So it allows you to support the local economy. And that's a big part of what, I think we'll get into talking about, the message behind today, and really what, I guess what we're all about here at Grocer. So I just wanted to highlight too, to provide some context, because CEA, or like vertical farming or indoor farming industry, it is relatively new, and it is projected to grow quite a bit. I mean, you can see here a few different sources that we found to put in this graph, but the commonality here is all of them are going up and to the right by varying degrees. So it's projected to grow. By how much, we'll never know today, but it will grow. And it's expected in some cases to grow quite significantly. I think there's a few different reasons why that we've highlighted on these slides, like demand for locally grown fresh produce, the ability to do so with advancements in technology. And all this is basically going to create a whole new economy around vertical farming that will be, in the multi-billions of dollars within the next 5 to 10 years. I think some key drivers of growth to highlight would be, well, we have a highly or a rapidly growing population globally. So like urbanization, the need for food security in these densely populated areas, CEA could be a great solution for that. A preference from the customer for something that's grown sustainably, that they know where it comes from. It's not filled with a bunch of different chemical pesticides and whatnot. That's also a trend that we probably all here on this call seen over the last few years. And again, the advancement because of these needs and the ability for these markets to grow are leading to a lot of technological advancements around making this type of farming more accessible, more affordable, more profitable, and more resource efficient as we move along. I mean, I've been in the industry, like working with grocery, like I said earlier, for 5 years, and even in the last 5 years, not only us, but like I think it's amazing to see the industry has really come quite a long way. So yeah, some of the benefits of CEA that I'd like to dive into a little bit. So of course, with this first one, higher quality and freshness. I'm not saying that your backyard garden isn't as good. I'm not saying that the farm down the street isn't going to be as high quality and freshness, but the point here is that you can't always do those things in your backyard or get it from the farm down the street. So when you're comparing it to imported or just produce that isn't grown locally or isn't grown using CEA, it can be a lot fresher, tastier, and higher quality. Big reason of that is because you're typically consuming it or storing it much closer to the point of harvest. Which leads into another point, less spoilage. So that proximity to the point of sale, instead of spending, let's say, I can speak to my location in Ontario, getting lettuces from California coming across North America, it's probably already sat on a truck for at least a few days. So that's a few days right away that I have less in my fridge. But not only from the consumer point of view, also from the grocery retail point of view, it'll be less spoilage. It'll be able to last longer on your shelves, look better on your shelves, so that more customers will want to buy it further into its lifespan. The environmental impact as well, when it's localized and grown using CEA locally, it has less food miles, and it also typically uses a lot less water than your conventional agricultural methods. It also can be, there's precision agriculture out there when it comes to, adding nutrients and whatnot into the field, but you can definitely be extremely granular when it comes to like dosing hydroponics with the exact amount of nutrients that your plant needs. I mentioned earlier the local economy, so just community benefits. If you're investing in a local CEA initiative, it's going to support the local economy and it'll keep those dollars flowing within your own community, which translates into a greater supply chain resiliency as well. You're supporting something local. I think this is a bit of a broken record statement, but like COVID kind of exposed a little bit for a period of time, like the slight, I would say, the fragileness of our global supply chain. So just being able to localize agriculture, again, big part of what we want to do here at Grocer. It's just going to make you more resilient to those types of just completely unprecedented and things you can't prepare for when it comes to making sure the community is going to be food secure. CEA allows that year round, and it mitigates those types of risk of supply chain disruptions. I mean, even the Suez Canal, the transport ship, like we could never known that. And by having your own greens being grown locally, your own produce being grown locally, you won't be as affected by those type of events.
Or what we called lettuce gate last year. I think we wrote about it. Yeah, lettuce gate, where a huge swath of produce coming from California, which is where we see a lot of our produce, at least here in Ontario, is coming from. Had various recalls and E. coli and all these different things that will end up disrupting the supply chain and could possibly make people sick. With indoor agriculture, obviously there is less of a risk of that kind of cross contamination, so there's less of a pressure that way on the supply chain as well, which I think is a really neat thing to know as well. And it's a level of security that you don't get when you're shipping produce from all over North America.
Well said. Exactly. I forgot about lettuce gate. How could I have forgot about lettuce gate?
Lettuce Gate. You can't forget about Lettuce Gate. Yeah. It's on our we did a nice big piece on
Yeah.
it.
And we wake up in the middle of the night like, oh my gosh, lettuce gate.
Exactly, exactly. Keeps me up.
Uh, so the last thing I was going to mention was this all opens up like greater investment opportunities, right? Where there's a gap in the market, where there's opportunities, that means there's the opportunity to, invest in it, create jobs, be profitable, and start new businesses within your local economy. So like starting a indoor modular farming operation like those from Grocer, shameless plug, would be one way to do it. And providing those types of scalable solutions and support, and just engaging in those types of community partnerships to lower or share the investment and the risk. And again, all leading back to that point of greater supply chain, resiliency locally. Which kind of leads us into why we wanted to talk about the relationship between controlled environment agriculture and retail, and why we think it's going to be very important moving forward, and a few different ways that you can partner with as a retailer or as someone who is looking to maybe partner like with the retailer locally, the co-op, the grocery store, what have you. I want to go over a few different ways that we've helped actually do that and some examples to show you how it's doable. Going to why we entitled the webinar we're hosting today, what we did is we called it Seed to Shelf. And this concept, it just encompasses the entire journey of produce from actually planting those seeds to the final product that you're grabbing from the grocery shelves. And there's a few different ways that we've seen do it. And to boil it down, it's pretty simply where you're either, maybe you're a farmer, you're a producer, you're a business person who's selling to a grocery store, to a co-op, to a retail, or you actually are the producer, which we've seen become more and more popular. So the farm or the operation is actually owned and operated by that retailer right on site, which makes it, truly a hyper local product when you're thinking about something that's harvested almost, steps away from the produce aisle. And both ways are amazing. It's really just what's the best fit for you, your business, your community, and what works well. So why grocery businesses should invest in CEA and why they should consider it in different ways they can. So one, giving you a competitive advantage. Going back to some of our points earlier on, investing in controlled environment agriculture locally, it allows your business to offer a fresher, more competitive, locally grown product year round, where previously you wouldn't be able to, which might give you a competitive edge over another store or another business that's nearby. And you have that ability to ensure a consistent supply when you control it yourself. You know what you're growing, you know it works well, and you can supply your own shelves on that consistent basis that way. It, for that reason, mitigates some of the risk of things like lettuce gate that Katie brought up and a few other, unforeseen supply chain challenges that may happen when it comes to pricing, when it comes to quality, when it comes to actual availability. When you control it yourself, and as the CEA industry grows and you're able to grow more different types of crops, and as it becomes more profitable and more productive, ultimately, those opportunities will only grow and grow further to allow your store to take control of that. And then ultimately, excuse me, it's more a sustainable practice. Growing on site, it reduces the food miles and the carbon footprint centered around, trucking produce across. Let's use the example of North America. So that's a big bonus, but it also it allows you to maybe show that you are listening to your customers. We've seen it be a major selling feature that, when they know something is grown, like let's say in this case, right outside your store, or there's a story behind that head of lettuce because it's grown at the farm nearby that you purchase off of and you partner with and you invest in. Those things are also amazing marketing stories to tell, quite frankly. And your consumers and your customers are really going to like that, and they're going to seek that out. So ultimately, it's for future proofing, your business and your community by investing in CEA, and being an early adopter can position you to be somewhat of a trailblazer and a leader, as that early innovator So staying ahead of those trends can really position yourself to be competitive for the long term, as we go back to that slide earlier of how much the industry is projected to grow. And again, it's not just about running, and I understand that not all retail grocery stores are going to want to be farmers, but exploring partnerships with CEA growers or technology providers is something I encourage anyone on here who has a position with retail is to seek out, or piloting yourself small scale, CEA projects to assess their feasibility and their benefits. And that's something that we can definitely help you do, or help you find the right person to partner with about that. And ultimately engaging with industry experts and staying informed on these types of advancements. I mean, there's so many amazing like researchers and schools and companies, quite frankly, out there that are moving this industry forward. And I think that the grocery retail, considering, I don't know about you, Katie, I get all my food from the grocery store, including my produce. So I think that
I'm lucky I get to live like a little bit closer to the country. So I get to go to the farmer's market to the farmer, which is not everybody can.
but again, not 100% and not
Yeah.
100% of the year. So again, I think kind of trying to tie this all together is why we think that the position for retail, grocery, co-ops, what have you, have a big role to play in the adoption of this type of CEA technology. And there's
Yeah,
benefits.
exactly. I absolutely get all of my produce from grocery retail. And that's just, again, because when it comes to what, if I'm buying direct, even if I'm kind of doing the best thing, buying direct from the farmer, a lot of the time, leafy greens in traditional agriculture do not have the same ROI that they have in vertical farming because of the density, because of the lower inputs. That's really the thing. So I actually just like don't have a farmer around here that grows traditional, in the ground leafy greens that I could go buy. So I am going to the grocery store. I am getting some from our research farm at work once in a while.
Yeah, and again, it's like it's not about replacing those local farms that
Mhm.
you want. It's about partnering with them, yes, but like being adjacent to. Like we're not
Yeah,
sitting saying
complementing that
CEA,
supply
yeah,
chain.
complementing. That's the word I'm looking for. Because
Mhm.
CEA, it's a tool in the toolbox that's going to be the solution to the broader problem of feeding a growing population. It's definitely by no means the be all end all of food.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we say that we're one puzzle piece amongst a bunch of them.
Yes. So getting into a little bit more specific, I touched on it a little bit, but um, actual different ways where you can leverage CEA in your grocery business, or if you're not a retailer, partner with, and I'll go into a few different details. First and foremost, and we've had this done here at Grocer, speaking to our experiences, is actually an ownership model where, let's say you're a retail, you're a grocery store, you're a co-op food store, something like that. You're actually able to own the farm yourself and operate it. So I put a quote there. I can't remember who said it. Something somewhere on our team, Katie, I'm not sure, but from the parking lot to the produce aisle is really kind of sums up the concept of this. So
It's a
part
great quote. It's actually from one of our customers who came to our root camp experience. We do like a 2-day on-site hydroponic boot camp. And they came out and they're part of the co-op brand of stores. And this is something they said after their experience. They're excited to have a supply chain from the parking lot to the produce aisle, which is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, what a great quote. I use it all the time. I need to give them more credit for that. Um, so yeah, that kind of sums it up. So the pros of that is you're generating revenue from direct produce sales in your own produce aisle. You can measure that against your current prices. You can find out what produce items might be a pain to get, that might be you feel like you're overpaying for, and you can be pretty flexible in terms of the crops that you grow, because you have full control over that operation. You can, being flexible, not just with the outset, but also being able to change throughout the year based on seasonality. So you can still, support that local farmer when they are in season and grow something that might be more of a cold weather crop, like a spinach, for example. And you can be quite flexible with those types of things. And also going back to earlier, you're telling a story of a commitment to sustainability to your customers, which a lot of people will be seeking out more and more. And then I wanted to also, provide a few considerations, just to say, then you are responsible for the upkeep of of your own farming operation, and you do need to have adequate space. So just kind of two caveats to that model. It's the right fit for some, it's not the right fit for others. And a big part of my role is to help you, if you are interested in looking at it, figure out what is the right fit for you. And we can always, connect about that at a later time as well. Anyone can reach out to me. The second way that we've seen this happen, you can go to the next slide, Katie, is a lease or like a partnership model, basically, with a local business or farm or entrepreneur. So think about, instead of owning and operating the farm yourself and generating, revenue that way and controlling the operation, you're actually partnering with, let's say, a local grower who might be seeking out some sort of investment partner to invest in a new piece of technology for their own farm. So you're going to generate your revenue by supporting a local business and basically leasing out that farm operation or piece of technology to them, speaking specifically to the model here with Grocer, and generating passive income from that. But you're also helping out a local farm, keeping those dollars in the community. You're solidifying a source locally for produce. So you are still giving yourself additional control within your local supply chain while doing so. And you're not, I get it. If you're owning and running a retail business, you might not want to be a farmer. So this is sort of like a best of both worlds where you're supporting the community, the local business, and yourselves. The biggest consideration is you want to pick a solid partner. So you have less autonomy over the prices, over what crops grown, and the overall operation. So you just, like any partnership, you want to make sure that all parties understand what they're getting into. So something to take into account when you're looking at this option. And the last and certainly not least is just seeking out an existing CEA grower or farmer in your community. It can be a fantastic alternative to conventional, or maybe there's some produce that you're importing that you can get locally. I would just encourage anyone on this call with the power to do so, or be able to do so, to just, give it a shot. And if you're maybe struggling to find someone and you're really keen on it, please reach out to us, because I'm sure through our network over the past years, we can absolutely facilitate something, whether it be an existing grower of ours that owns a grocer farm and who's running it, whether it be maybe someone entirely different that we're just aware of. We are more than happy to make those types of introductions. So the pros, go back one, Katie. I was just going to say the pros would be access to, produce year round, just by, seeking out a new customer or a new vendor. Again, you're still supporting the local economy, and you're still telling that story of sustainability and an emphasis on sourcing local. And I don't really see a downside. That's why I don't have one there. So on the flip side, maybe if you're someone who's considering starting off or has a CA operation or looking of ways to get into it, and please, if there's any retails on this call, we'd love to maybe hear in the Q&A of if we're missing anything. But from our feedback of our current farms who do work with retail partners, and they're our customers and we work with them pretty closely, what typically these grocers are looking for, and by no means are these the only things, but these are some of the big themes that we've seen, is a consistent supply. So on-time deliveries with the type of product and the quantity of that product that they want, that's very important, because they have their customer serves and their shelves to stock. Fair, and maybe a better word, and the one to highlight would be like a predictable pricing throughout the year. I've heard specifically from different grocery store or produce managers that in some cases, they would much prefer to pay a consistent price throughout the year, even if that means at certain times in peak season, they're paying a little bit more than what they could have, just to have that consistent quality supply. It just makes their life a lot easier, makes the bookkeeping easier, makes it just more of a smooth operation for them. So something to keep in mind. And maybe it goes without saying, but the long shelf life. I mean, there's a vertical farm very close here to Ottawa, and I try to buy their stuff whenever I can at one of the stores. And I mean, it just lasts a long time. So when you can compare that to maybe something conventionally grown coming imported from elsewhere, that you can kind of demonstrate that. I mean, that's something that a produce manager or a grocery store, at least from those that I've spoken to, are really going to value, because it will, again, I said it earlier too, but last longer, not only on their customer shelves, but last longer in their own operation or in their own like back room too. And that's a big deal. Less spoilage, more revenue.
That's the simple answer.
Exactly. Approaching the store can be difficult, or this could even go some of these things for like restaurants as well, but
Yeah,
talking about
absolutely.
we're talking about retail today, so helping make them buying into your story of a local farmer, uh adding that in your pitch will never hurt. Don't rush into the sell necessarily. Like, find a partner that you think it's going to be a good fit. If you think you have a high value premium product, don't rush to the value store. Maybe go for that higher premium, like shoot for the stars to a certain extent. If you do secure a customer that's a retail customer, continue to work with them to make sure that it's going right. Like, communication is key. For those who might be new to that side of being a vendor for a retailer, making sure that you are giving them what they want week in and week out is very important. And that open line of communication, they will very much appreciate. Maybe it seems obvious to say, but it certainly shouldn't be overlooked. Putting yourself out there in community groups, in local paper. I mean, Katie is managing our marketing team, and the value of just getting your name out there in any sort of news story she can vouch to, it's super important, and it goes a lot longer than you might think. And at the end of the day, it's okay to say no to customers who might want your produce, but it might not be a big enough quantity. It might be a pain to deliver it to wherever they might be. That's okay. You got to think about what's best for you. And that at the same time, it's also okay to hear no. As someone who works with business development, it's certainly okay to hear no. It's not always going to be the right fit. That's okay. Move on to the next one and keep your head up, I guess.
Yeah, and I'll just add on to that a little bit here as well. Like, in terms of, getting to this point and putting together a distribution strategy, like that's something that there are tons of resources out there. And of course, I'm gonna, talk about grocery resources, but we do have services to help with, finding distribution. Procuring letters of intent is often a big part of the process when a grower goes to approach grocery retail. And is putting their business plan together. So again, feel free to chat with us about that, and we can always sort of walk you through the steps involved. We're staying a little high level today, but again, we can always support with more information that way.
Yeah, 100%. And perfect segue into what's next, and what we wanted to get out of this webinar. And again, thanks everyone for joining, because I think we want to encourage people to think about their CEA options that are near them from the perspective of either selling to a grocery store, or being, in charge of or involved with a grocery store or a co-op, or, a food bank, for example, and just seeking out those CEA opportunities. So we'd encourage you to assess your current supply chain. Let's say if you are a retailer, and identify those opportunities for integrating some sort of controlled environment agriculture program or initiative or project. And we can certainly help you out in evaluating if it's right for you. Exploring modular farm solutions and potential community partners. Again, this is what I love to do. I do it on a daily basis. And developing a phased plan to gradually incorporate CA into your operations if it's the right fit. And again, it just comes down to evaluating those gaps in the market, see where you can make the most difference, reaching out to a potential CEA partner, grocer or not, to see if that would make sense, if it's the right fit for you, and then testing it out and seeing if it works. So on the vein of we are here to help, we have marketing and market analysis packages, like service packages. Let's say that you're trying to approach a grocery store or a restaurant, or just kind of evaluate your local market, and you want to start a project of your own. Even if you are actually a store yourself, you could maybe sell to other stores too. We've seen that happen. So please reach out to us if you have any questions about that. If you're someone who owns and operates a produce department, or a retail grocery store or co-op, we're more than happy either way to anyone to do a personalized financial projection to compare kind of your cost of growing with how much it would cost your cost of like purchasing produce with how much it could potentially cost for you to grow and operate your own farm. And we have tons of training opportunities, whether or not you want to start a project first or do training before. We have something called a root camp that you can do here in Ottawa. We do it. We usually take a break in the summer, but next one's going to be sometime in September, I believe, Katie. And it's a great opportunity to kind of do a 2-day crash course on everything. I say everything grocer, but really everything kind of indoor farming more broadly. Yes, it's specific to grocer, of course, but it gives you a good overview of kind of what it would take to run an operation of your own, which is why people who are considering, who have already started a farm, like it's a good fit for either or. And then the onboarding and support too, just to reiterate, like if let's say you're to start a CA project of your own, I mentioned earlier, consulting with industry experts and service providers. You're not alone in this. We're very much there along the way because we understand, especially with some of the grocery partners that we already do have who do operate farms. We understand that it's novel to them, and there's a lot that we can do to help you kind of transition into doing it yourself. So my email is there, nick@thegrocer.ca, nice and easy. That's my number there too. I mean it, don't hesitate to reach out. If you want to send me an email to start, that's probably the best way to maybe explain a little bit more about your situation if we haven't spoken before. And I'm more than happy to find time to schedule a call. We'll send out, I think you said earlier, my meeting link, right, Katie?
Yep,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah.
so
So if you just want to, you don't even want to talk to him at first, you just want to book a meeting in, you can go ahead and do that too. Makes it nice and easy. And I know a couple people in the comments have requested a follow-up, Nick. So I'll shoot those over to you after. But yeah, don't hesitate to reach out. Again, I know we kind of covered things at a high level today, but we're here again, like truly like project consultant. Like we will walk with you through planning your project. We have tons of resources, including business plan templates, site guides, looking at distribution models. So we have tons of resources out there for you to use, and they're all free. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. So from here, I think we'll go into a little bit of our Q&A, and there have been a couple of great questions already. So I can kind of go through those. So, but if you do have a burning question that you've been holding on to the whole time, now is the time to drop it into the Q&A. We'll get through as many as we can here today. We have about 20 minutes, so we will end at 4, but again, yeah, let's go through as many as we can right now. So the first one that I want to answer here is, do we have any regional or national U.S. food chain stores growing their own produce via CEA with grocer support? So we can start to answer that. And I'll also say in terms of, we'll talk about both US and Canadian because obviously we're a Canadian company. And so our roots are here in Canada, and then we'll move on to talking a little bit more about the US.
Yeah, it's a great question, and simply not yet, but we're actively looking for a partner to begin that. So very brief history of grocers. We're a Canadian company. We build our farms here in Canada. We're based in Ottawa, which is the capital. And we have figured that if we can provide a product that can grow year round in a climate like Canada, we can definitely do so in most places, if not all places in the US and quite frankly, across the world. So like any company, we've started off domestically and now we're very actively and strategically looking for partners in specifically the US market. So if there are opportunities that you're curious about, we are more than open to talking about that. And we have a few in the works right now, but I can't point you just yet to any that are actively partnered with us using our technology growing in the US. But let's hope that changes soon.
Well, we certainly can point you to customers who are growing food chains that are growing in Canada. So we mentioned one earlier, which is the Co-op brand. So they're more in the west of Canada. And we do have several customers under that brand that are growing successfully and have a farm on site. I think we used a photo of one of them in some of our promotions, and we can absolutely point you to those to see some examples up here in Canada.
Yep. And even in Eastern Canada too. We have a couple here in Ontario as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. So we'll move on to next question here. I really like the FarmPlex investment opportunities. We love to hear that. What type of civil work is needed for this? Yeah, so this kind of goes back to our site prep guide as well. And I'll let you answer that a little bit, Nick.
Yeah, civil work. Thank you. I was wondering what you meant by that, but I should know because my fiance is a civil engineer. So I'll send you the site prep guide. I mean, I could talk about it for 20 minutes right now. To put it as simply as possible, it would be the 200 amp service for power per farm. So for a farmplex, that'd be 4 farms, so 800 amps plus the hub, which is 100 amps. So you need a 900 amp service for a farmplex electrical connection per farm. I mean, it would use about 2,000 liters on average. It averages out to be about 2,000 liters a month for water. And then really for the preparation of actually like call it the foundation, we would always recommend, because our farms do last 30 years, to put them on helical piles or screw piles. It's 10 per farm, and those are drilled into the ground, and the farm is set on that as the foundation, and a hardwired internet connection. And I should know too, I guess, from the perspective of civil, that those helical piles do need to be level.
I like just adding that in at the
Yeah.
end. Yeah,
Yeah,
make
but
sure.
like not just like flat, like level, ideally.
And again, we can send the site prep guide and it kind of lists it in like a more granular way as well. All right, how many LED fixtures fit into your standard container module?
Uh,
I personally don't know the exact number. I'm going to say a lot from my perspective.
yeah, we do it in 4 and 8 foot bars. We get them from
Yeah.
G. I honestly don't know off the top of my head, Ed. I really don't know. Enough to grow over 700 heads of produce a week. That's the best I got, but I can follow up with a more specific number. And I'd love to learn a little bit more about where that question, like if there's something that goes along with that question too. I've actually never been asked that before, so good
Yeah,
question.
that's first. That's the first. Next question here. Do we procure to the federal government? So do we sell to the federal government? No, we don't. We do work with a number of communities, so either indigenous communities, municipalities, rural regions,
Nonprofits.
what's that?
Nonprofits as
Nonprofits,
well.
yeah, that are in terms of their projects that they are grant seeking. So part of their projects are funded by federal grants. But no, we don't sell to good old FedGov.
No, and that should answer your question as well, Gaurav. Yes, there are funding opportunities available depending
Mhm.
on what kind of business you are. Like you said, for nonprofits, I mean, yes, there's some available provincially, federally, municipally, regionally, and they open and they close. So it's a bit of like an ever evolving ecosystem. But like the simple answer is yes, there are. They are out there.
Yeah. And again, something that, upon consultation, we can kind of point you in the right direction.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, project consultancy, interesting as well. Can you expand a bit more on it? So maybe a little bit more about the process itself, Nick.
Oh, absolutely. So I mean, we can be somewhat flexible. So the biggest thing would be like, let's say you are, you're looking to invest maybe in an operation, and before investing in putting an investment level of like all the equipment and setup, you want to understand more about your local market and what's available. We can actually help you do some of that market analysis and business development. So we can have, we can do as little as coach you towards how to approach, let's say, grocery stores and restaurants, in 1 hour sort of increments, let's say weekly for a month would be one option. We can actually do some of that for you. So a little bit more of a white glove service. And then we can, go even farther and actually like book meetings and try to actually generate sales on your behalf. And of course, they're priced accordingly. It'll depend a little bit on where you are to provide an exact quote, but yeah, Maxi asked that question, right? So happy to get in touch to see what we can do for you. But that's sort of the basis of it.
Awesome. Yeah, another question about funding grant programs for private businesses. Yeah, let's talk
Yeah,
about any
good,
funding for private businesses.
good question, Angela. I'm not going to say no, but like rarely. It's just the nature of it. Like there are programs, there are incentives, but like for equipment, less so. For training and employment, there'll be much more available to cover like a portion of maybe a salary, especially if it can be considered sort of a green or sustainable job. There are those types of programs out there. But they're fewer and farther between when it comes to like equipment grants. That's
Mhm.
just the way it goes right now. It's
Yeah, a couple things to look into if you're curious, is for instance, like young farmer grants will often appear. So if you're under 40, and you can kind of go the route of young entrepreneur grants, again, depending on, your demographic, don't know, but, and then also if you're an Indigenous entrepreneur, there are grants available, grants and funding in that case. So those are kind of like young Indigenous are kind of the two, entrepreneurial streams that you'd be looking at if you were a private business looking for funding. Awesome. Let me just scroll down here. Oh, I apologize for the background if anybody heard the revving engine there. I live in a neighborhood with some fantastic cars.
Maxi had a question about
Yeah.
oh, so again, it's
Oh,
going to
okay.
depend on, I mean, are you putting the farm on a bare piece of dirt, or are you putting the farm on something that actually already has like utilities and services, right? Like those are going to be two different things. You have to run hydro for 100 feet from the road. That's obviously going to ride the cost up. So it's tough to give like an exact, but like less than for a typical setup, I would say we'll be conservative and we'll say less than 10% comfortably. But I don't want to, there's a world where if you're depending on the site, it might be more. There's considerations to be had. And also that's where we'll follow up with the site prep guide so you can kind of understand like what we would recommend versus what your site already has or might need to work on.
Cool. Then we got one more question with the Farmplex there, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, depending on sale price, depending on operational model, it'll fall somewhere not much less than 3.5 to 4 years, depending on where you are. Probably more like 4 years, and then yeah, that's about the ballpark. Let's say 4 to 6 years.
All right, we've got one more here from Ed. Oh, love this question. This is always a question. Do you have any farms running off of solar? I can answer this one, I guess, as well. I'll let Nick chime in. We don't currently have any that are running exclusively off of solar because we're not a solar provider. We definitely are open to people who want to do that with their project. It would mean finding a third party solar energy provider. And it would be really cool. That's something you're looking at doing, Ed. I would love to see it. It'd be great. We currently don't have any that are exclusively off solar. Nick, do you know anybody who's using like maybe a 50% or 20%?
No, but I know it's in the works with a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, people ask me all the time, like, what if I put solar? It's like, well, to subsidize the cost of power, sure, but like to do let's say a modular farm project from Grocer, and then also have like enough solar to power that whole thing, like you're looking at two pretty substantial, I'd say, like setups and projects.
Mhm.
It's definitely doable though, like for
Yeah.
sure. Um, it's just got to figure out too, based on your power rate, where you're located, is that actually going to be worth the investment in solar?
Mhm.
I'd say from a sustainability standpoint, always, but from a cost perspective, there's an ROI to the solar as well.
Yeah, for sure. Again, the realm of the possible. Almost anything is possible. You just got to figure out if it's going to work for your project or not.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
the it depends answer I know is kind of annoying, but it really does.
yeah. Maxie, I can throw that in the chat there. I'll shoot that over to you. Any other questions? It looks like it slowed down a little bit. So if anybody has any questions in their back pocket that they want to answer before we wrap up for today, throw those in the Q&A. And again, if you have more questions afterwards, like just shoot us an email. We are open books. We really do try and be as transparent as possible through this process. So we would love for you to reach out to us, book a meeting, whatever. We're here for you with as many answers as we can give.
Go back a slide and just for like 10 seconds.
Yeah, we'll just throw that back up
Check
there.
out the contact info again. I know you're probably all on our mailing list anyways, so you can get in touch, but just to make it easy, again, the easiest way is to send me an email to start. If you're really keen, you can give me a phone call too, but or book
Or
a
I
meeting.
suggest texting him if you'd
Yeah,
like.
that works.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us today. This has been a great discussion, great little webinar today, and we're looking forward to hearing from you. Again, check out our website if you want to just browse through resources at your own pace. We do have multiple guides, again, overview of controlled environment agriculture. We have an overview of hydroponics 101, our site prep guide. We have a couple of guides surrounding how to figure out your distribution. We also have a couple of other webinars there as well. We've done webinars in the past, especially for entrepreneurs who are looking to sell direct to customer, who are looking at all the different sales models there. Feel free to peruse those, check them out. And again, thanks for being here today. And we look forward to seeing you on the next one. So take care, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.